That's africanmining.com. You'll be able to find out how you can access that information. Okay, so we're now going to look at a number of diversified African junior minings with exploration operations beyond just South Africa. And first up, I'm going to call Trevor Moss, who is the new Chief Executive Officer of African Eagle. Trevor.
Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking the time to come and listen to my presentation regarding African Eagle. We're a developer of a project, flagship project, which is a nickel project in Tanzania, and I'm here to discuss that with you today. Here's the usual disclaimer, but I'll quickly pass on from that. This is our shareholding structure at this moment. We're listed on the AIM Stock Exchange and also on the Altex here in Johannesburg. Market capitalization, that figure's a little bit out of date of the last week or so. We've had an appreciation in our share price. Our current market cap is something in the order of £33 million. We've got 455 million shares outstanding based on a recent investment of 10% by the IFC, which just closed this week. Our major shareholders are the IFC at 10% and a fund, private fund held in the UK called MWB, who are represented on our board by Julian McIntyre. We also have 6% shareholding by a listed fund called Anglo-Pacific, which often takes a royalty in projects, but in this particular occasion is simply an equity investor in our company. Where are we located? We're located in north-central Tanzania, close to Lake Victoria. This is a stable multi-party democracy with a mining law that was most recently enacted in 2010 and has mining traditions over the years with some of the major producers such as African Barrick and Anglo Gold Ashanti. African Eagle has an experienced management team. I was added in December of this year, along with a gentleman who's here this evening, finance director, whose name is Andrew Robertson. We just got the recent equity investment from the IFC for 10% of our company, and we've commenced our BFS for the development of Dutwa, with a production target, an aggressive production target, admittedly, of 2015. My background is 30 years in this industry. Most recently, I am an engineer by education, but most recently I was responsible for the completion of the Bishop project for Nevsun in Eritrea. Put that into production in the early part of 2010. Before that, I've worked for Barrick. I've also worked for some of the other majors and a number of junior companies listed on the TSX. And I've also worked in the engineering services sector of our industry, which is particularly beneficial when we're developing a project like Dutwa, and we need to make sure that we're following through with all the engineering and other activities that are involved. Andrew has 35 years of experience. He was most recently a CFO of a couple of gold projects in Canada, TSX listed, and has a significant amount of experience in project financing and project operations. The economics of our project are particularly strong for a nickel project. It is a laterite. It falls in the basket of laterite projects, but in a lot of respects it's a rather unique laterite, and I'd like to get into some discussion about that. We have a particularly low capex because we're using atmospheric tank leach as opposed to the high-pressure acid leach, which is most commonly employed with nickel laterite projects, and there's been numerous stories around the world of the various performance levels of those projects. We have a 20-year mine life. Essentially, there is no stripping to our project. We have a waste-to-ore ratio of about half to 1, which is extremely low, and a post-tax MPV based on a scoping study that we did in late 2010 of $630 million at a discount rate of 10% at $9 per pound of nickel, which is about the current price. Low operating cost of $3.50 puts us in, we believe, the second quartile of operating costs for nickel projects, although a number of the larger major companies don't publish their costs, it's quite difficult to come to a definitive conclusion. Recent developments, we've hired Lycopodium from Perth to prepare our BFS for us. Lycopodium have a significant amount of experience in Tanzania, built the first gold project there for Golden Pride in the 90s, and we're working with them and basing our project on their experience, and they started work just in January. We're completing the drilling for the development of our resource from inferred up into indicated category, and that will be complete, the first phase at the end of this quarter and the second phase into Q2. As far as project comparisons, it's important for us to compare our project to other nickel laterites given their history, and it's important for us to compare them to high-pressure acid leach projects. If we look at the likes of Ravensthorpe and Ambertovy in particular, Ravensthorpe was developed by BHP, and these data come from their original resource calculations. They had a reserve of 125 million, grading at about 0.73%, and a capital cost of $3.6 billion, and to produce a mixed hydroxide product, which is very similar to the one that we're going to be producing from our project in Dutra. This particular project at Ravensthorpe included an atmospheric tank leach circuit, which was reported to be working well in the first phase of its development with BHP, and is again being reported to be working particularly well now that First Quantum has restarted the project and has invested a few hundreds of millions of dollars in bringing the project up to speed and up to date, and brought it into operation last year. Ambertovy is another project which is similar in size to ours. It's 125 million tons reserve, 1% nickel, and again $5.5 billion of capital cost. Now, obviously this particular project includes some downstream refinery capacity and a smelter and a port, but even so, it's a significant capital cost requirement. Our project, on the other hand, is about 100 million tons, grading about 1%, with an estimated capital cost of $600 million, based on our 2010 scoping study, which is a significant difference. So in comparison to Ravensthorpe, the total metal content is quite similar, but the capital cost is significantly different. This is where we sit on the overall capital intensity curve, obviously very close to the bottom. And the reason that we're able to do this, the reason why our performance is different to that of other nickel projects which require high-pressure acid leach technology, is because we have considerably lower iron content in our ore. Overall, our ore contains a lower level of iron, magnesium, and aluminium. So overall, our acid-consuming other factors are considerably lower than they are in many of the projects that have been developed around the world with differing results. This is the principal reason why we can go directly to atmospheric tank leach using the proven technology that's been identified and used well at Ravensthorpe, and employ it directly on our project without the need for the expensive and difficult to operate high pressure acid leach tasks. Now this is our extraction curves. These look more like gold curves. Your axis on the bottom is actually in hours. So we extract our metal from the ore very quickly indeed. The reason for that is because the acid is employed in extracting nickel as opposed to employed extracting iron, magnesium, or one of the other bad actors that happens to be in the ore. These curves are based on acid consumption rates that are very similar that you would see applied to high-pressure acid leach projects, but without the need for the high-pressure acid leach technology. Our overall development timeline, we're in the bankable feasibility study. We're progressing forward with upgrading all of our resources to indicated. And the metallurgical pilot plant test work will be performed later this year, which will mimic exactly our flow sheet and produce some product so that we're able to send that off to off-takers. We're in the middle of process engineering with our engineers and our own laboratories, etc., and infrastructure engineering, which is a particularly important part of our project. Our environmental studies began last year with the IFC as our partner and an equity investor in our company. We take this particularly seriously, and we're spending a considerable amount of effort ensuring that we develop this project in the most sustainable and appropriate way possible. Financing, we're looking to go into financing towards the latter part of this year, detailed discussions with the banks, etc., with a view to funding the project in next year so that we can begin construction in 2013, and as I said, with the aggressive objective of putting our project into production in 2015. I don't think I need to go through this. We do have a little bit of extra upside organic growth potential. There is a deposit to the east called Dutwa East, which we haven't yet explored, but appears to offer similar characteristics to the two hills that comprise our project. And then there's another project, discovery down to the south called Zanzui, within which we've identified a laterite resource, but also offers the potential for PGMs and the nickel sulfide. Thank you very much.